Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Good evening, one and all. I am Himanshu Saluja from Deacon's University. I am here to introduce amongst all my fellow students Shri Sharachand Karve. He has an eminent experience of 37 years in domain of manufacturing projects, planning and commissioning, learning and development, followed with Six Sigma and quality development functions. He has given his esteemed services to Reliance Foundation for development of sustainability quality initiatives. He has also been the mentor of 300 improvement projects for manufacturing services and Reliance Retail, followed by Supply Chain, Geo, and many more. Shri S.G. Karve has also been credited with quality certification, including ASQ certified master black belt, ASQ certified manager for horizontal excellence, and list goes many more. I would lastly conclude expressing my heartiest gratitude to him for giving all his valuable time out of his busy schedule, sharing out his esteemed knowledge and experience with all of us. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your precious time to the student.
Thank you. Now I should go for a sharing screen.
Yes, sir.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I go on presentation mode.
Hmm. No, now it is not visible.
Uh, So what is the problem?
No, you have stopped presenting your screen.
No, I am presenting my screen now.
No, it is not at all visible.
Okay. Okay. So look at this now.
Sir, please click again on present now.
Yeah. Now is it
Is
visible?
it saying present?
Now, yes, sir. Sir, yes.
Now,
Now, is
now
it
it is
visible?
visible.
Please put
Uh,
in view mode.
So let us try. I will go to presentation mode again.
Yes, sir.
If I go to the presentation mode, it stops
Sir,
presenting.
no. Please minimize the Google Meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I should start presentation.
Sir,
Oh,
there is
it's
some
not working.
Can you click on the here?
above.
Where? It should be here only, no?
Yeah, that is there. Huh.
Yeah.
Now it is there.
Now is it visible? Okay. So
Yes, sir. Yes.
good evening all.
Yes, sir. Now.
So
Yes, sir, it's
welcome
visible.
to session on Six Sigma. So the whole course on the Six Sigma I have divided into four sessions. So today is session 1. So let us look at what we are going to cover session wise first, and then we'll go for an actual session. So in a session 1, probably I will brief you about what is Six Sigma, why Six Sigma methodology. There are different approaches which are used for an improvement. So what is the advantage of using a Six Sigma methodology and how a Six Sigma methodology actually works? That is what we will cover today. Then in a second session, we'll go for an actual steps. So Six Sigma is about define, measure, analyze, improve, and control phase. So we'll go phase wise. So we'll understand the concepts of and define phase. Then we'll also look at how to prepare a charter, which is very important for you as a project. So whenever you are going to take up any project, you have to prepare a charter first, and we'll go through the elements of the charter, and then we'll proceed to the major phase concepts and understand what is the process capabilities. The whole Six Sigma methodology is revolving around the capability of the process. We always use the process term capability many times. The person is capable, not capable, Dhoni is capable, or something like that. So those are the subjective on the basis of the thinking. So how we can convert that thinking into a mathematical formula, that we look at it when we are we have to calculate actually the process capability. Then for a third session, we'll find out the reasons. So how the reason needs to be screened. So we will look at the actual statistical tools which are used, which is called as a basic statistical tools or basic 7QC tools. Then we will also look at a failure mode effect analysis, how we have to uh, means screen the excess. And you will understand these terms when we go along with our presentation, what I am saying, screen the exercise means. Then using the statistical tools. And there are also lean tools which are being used in many of the organizations. So we'll also understand what are the lean tools. Then improve and control phase concepts, roles of responsibilities of the individual, and we'll also cover the case study. So probably we'll not be able to finish in 4. So we'll go for a 5th session where I will actually cover the case studies, so that how it is actually implemented in the organization. The idea is to, you should get a feel and you should be prepared with the concept to when you actually go for work and implement those things, or implement those things or practice those things when you are actually start working. So with this small introduction of what we are going to cover, let us move to the actual Six Sigma methodology. So let us start with the story of a tortoise and hare. We all know the story. We have been hearing this from our childhood. Our grandmother has always told us this story. What was the moral of this story? Or in this version, what our grandmother told us is slow and steady wins the race. And this is the version of the story that we have all grown up with. Now, does the story ends here? No, the story doesn't end here. So what next? So what happens next? The hare again goes to a tortoise and asks him, "Can we run another race?" Tortoise says, "Okay." And as we all know, hare wins the race by several miles. This time the hare went all out and ran out without stopping, and he runs from start to finish, and he runs within several miles. Now, what is the moral of this story? The moral of the story is, it is good to be slow and steady, but fast and consistent will always beat slow and steady. So where exactly, what is the relevance of telling this story in a Six Sigma training? So when we talk about the fast and consistent, the Six Sigma exactly tells you, or tries to make your process fast and consistent. That is what is whole methodology is based on this. So we always, the emphasis is always in making your process fast or consistent, and that is always helpful for an organization to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the organization. So when we say fast, to make our process fast means reducing the cycle time, etc. So when we're talking about the process fast, we generally use lean tools. Okay, and these lean tools, will cover those lean tools. So what are these lean tools, how are they implemented, and how to understand the waste, etc. So making a process fast generally is with the lean tools, and consistent is out of an variation. So when I say consistent, there is no variation in the process. So every time I repeat the same observation, or every time I am consistent. So in what I say or what I do, or my timing, etc., etc. So the fast and consistent will always give satisfaction to a customer. So whole story of an Six Sigma is based on making a process fast and consistent. And as say, the moral of the story is fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It is not that you be a fast or consistent for one time. You have to repeatedly have to have your process fast and consistent. That is what is an objective of in Six Sigma. Does the story ends here? No. So the next time again, the tortoise goes to the hare and says, "Can we run a race again?" But this time the tortoise has in mind a different route. So he says, "I will decide a route." And he has a route which is crossing. He has a route in mind which is crossing through a river. So hare unknowingly says yes. So what happens in this race? A hare comes up to the bank of the river but can't cross the river. Hare comes up to the river, crosses the river, and goes on another side, and the end point is at the another side. So hare wins the race. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, first identify your core competencies and work to suit your core competencies. So many of the times, why is Six Sigma implemented in the organization? to improve the core competencies of the people or the employees. So this is how it is connected with the Six Sigma. The story is connected with the Six Sigma methodology. So generally means it is encouraged in the organization to solve the problems who is master in solving a root cause analysis, or you will be trained during the Six Sigma methodology. You will be exposed to many tools, statistical tools, lean tools. So your competency goes up. And with that competency, you generally try to take up any problem. And if you take up any problem and solve any problem using this methodology, the organizational effectiveness, overall thinking ability in the organization or the employees goes up. The culture of the organization changes. That is why the people or organization encourage to deploy a Six Sigma methodology. Does the story end here? No. So what is the next part of the story? Now, by this time, the hare and the tortoise are the friends. Now, what they decide to run a race together. So what happens till they come on the bank of the river? The tortoise is on the back of a hare. When they cross the river, the hare is on the back of a tortoise. And again, when they cross they cross the river, they again do it ulta. The tortoise is on the back of a hare. So what is the moral of the story? Again. So now moral of the story is both are the winners. And it is good to be individually brilliant and have a strong core competencies, but unless you are able to work with a team and leverage each other's core competencies, your performance will be below par than the team. So why Six Sigma? Why Six Sigma? To again encourage the team culture in the organization. So people with the motive of solving a problem come together, solve the problem, and they celebrate their success and go back to their own teams, so that the team cultures get inculcated in the organization. That is why the Six Sigma, that is why the moral of the story is, so that makes the relevance of this point to tell you the story in a Six Sigma training. So once you have a team, so it is all about the team. So let us go and build stronger team. So in a team, together everybody achieves more. So once you have a team, then a team must have a problem to solve. So then the team should identify, or team should be given some problem to work on. So how the problem can be find out? It is always on the performance gap. So you have a present level of situation, you are not, or your manager is not happy with the performance, and his expectations are more, then there is always a gap, and he will tell you to improve this, etc., etc. And there is a gap between expectation and present level, and you take up a project and improve the process. So this is what it is. And this improvement is part of everybody's life. Means it is not for an organization. You can directly translate a Six Sigma methodology in your own life, own career, everything. So sometimes this methodology of identifying a performance gap or present level or expectation can be a subjective. So is there any structured method to identify a project? So yes. So you must have heard the approach, or you must have heard the terms called vision, mission, etc. So what is vision? So vision is a dream. It is a strategic thinking. So the ultimate goal of an organization is to make money. So again, it is not only restricting to the organization, the individuals also can have vision. So to be a CEO of an organization, you are young people, so many of you may have a vision to be a CEO of an organization. Many of you may have a vision to be a businessman in life. Okay. And again, the third vision can be to run a mini marathon at the age of the 50. At the age of 50. Again, it is not related to money. It is not only related to career. It is the thinking. So vision can be a thinking, what you dream or what you think. Again, this is thinking. And with that thinking, You can say like run a mini marathon at the age of 50. It doesn't give you money, but it gives you satisfaction. So it is a vision. Now, once you have a vision, what next? The vision to be translated into a mission. So that is what is called a strategic thinking. Now, a strategic thinking coming to a strategic planning. So vision comes through only with the planning. So there are few tools which are mentioned. I have mentioned them here, which called as an Hoshin Kanri, SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, threat, or balance scorecard, etc. Now, if you look at the all quality tools, you will understand that there are few tools which have come from an Western world, like Europe and America. Now, if you look at a SWOT analysis or balance scorecard approach, they all come from an Western region. And to that, I won't say counter, but similar tools also which are originated from Japan. So you will find typically a Japan name for that. The concept used in SWOT analysis or balance scorecard and Hoshin Kanri is same. The idea is to convert that vision into mission. Now, when you convert that vision into mission, it can be a short-term goal or a long-term goal. Now, what is a short-term goal or what is a long-term goal? So, what is achieved in 1 to 5 years? What is achieved in a long term or 5 to 10 years? You must understand that. Now, if you are talking, you are at age of 25, and you are talking of running a mini marathon at the age of 50. What is your short-term goal and what is your long-term goal? You have to be very clear about it. So, what if you want to run a mini marathon at the age of 50? So, what could be your short-term goal? So, you keep practicing, maintain your weight, maintain your diet, etc., etc. Okay, so you can convert the actions or planning into a short-term and long-term goal. Now, the next step is what is objective. So what we are doing now, again, when we are talking about the vision and mission, we are just talking in English. Now, what actually we want to do, that we are converting into the measurable concept, like the objectives with metric. Means when I say I want to keep myself fit, so what exactly you mean by fit? Okay, so you will have to number that my BMI should be between this, my weight should be below this, etc., etc. So I'm converting all that into an objective with metric. So it is very important. So what I am actually going to do, what I am going to work on the objectives. So that is what is called in a terminology is strategic execution. So once I have that metric, I will improve that and it should be measurable. So I have to have customer satisfaction. So what do you exactly mean by customer satisfaction? Are you measuring that customer satisfaction? So you need to measure that, and if you are able to measure that, then only you have a control on it and you can improve it. That is what is said by Lord Kelvin. So the emphasis of Six Sigma is that whenever or whatever project you take up, it has to represent in a metric. It cannot be a subjective, acha tha, theek ho gaya. It cannot be. You have to number it, customer satisfaction, employee engagement, etc., etc. Kuch bhi. Aapko, you have to measure that in terms of the numbers. That is what is the first and fundamental thing of any project and which has been emphasized in Six Sigma. So once you have a number, you will obviously work on that to improve that. Then the next part is most important, which is an integration part. So all the time, will you be working on that project? No. So there are two types. One is policy management, that is what is a project stage, and then there is a daily management stage. So if suppose I give you an example from an industry, you are working on any process to improve some yield. And what will happen? What is the vision? If you improve the yield, your production quantity will increase, and if your production quantity will increase, your revenue for an organization will increase, which is best for an organization. Now, if among you somebody is taking up the project, it is at project stage, he or she probably as a black belt or green belt or yellow belt improve the process and then hand over that process to a daily management. So whoever is a production manager will be a custodian of that project. You will you will properly document that process, how you have achieved that. At the end of the last stage, when we say control phase, at the end of the control phase, you will be submitting a control plan to a production manager. I am saying production manager because generally the responsibility of production is by production manager, but generally the term referred in Six Sigma is a process owner. So whoever the process owner is, you will hand over that control plan to a process owner, and then to monitor that process is the work of an daily management, which is done by that process owner as a part of a dashboard, key performance indicators, etc., etc. So this is very important. In many organizations, this part is missing. If somebody works on any project, generally he becomes a project owner for throughout the career in that organization. Generally, it should not happen. The Six Sigma concept is not like that. You take up a project that is kind of a disband group. The team comes together, improve a process, and hand it over to a process owner. And then process owner is a custodian or a beneficiary of that project benefits, and he will maintain that process. That is what is the idea when I say mean of an integration. Okay, so this is one of the approach. Again, I said there are concepts which are popularized or tools which are coming from Japan as well as the Western countries. So probably vision, mission, objectives is one of the concepts which is very popular in Japanese organizations, and in India there are several organizations they follow a concept of a Japanese or use the terminology of the Japanese, as well as there are many organizations they follow a concept of a Western world. The ultimate objective is to improve the process. So two means vision, mission, and objectives like this. There is a concept which is very popular in US, which is called as a business process management. It is popularized by GE. So it is a fundamental backbone of an Six Sigma. So how it works? The business processes, it says like earlier what we said, vision, mission, and objective. Now what here in BPM, what we are saying is a business level objective. So what is a high level organization? Means CEO of an organization or maybe a plant head of an organization, what he is looking for. Yeah, you being a chemical engineer probably will work in some of the manufacturing industry. So you have a plant, and the performance of the plant is a business level objective, or business performance of the site can be a business level objective. So to that business level objective will come an operation level objective. And to that operational level, the next drill down will be a process level objective. So what you will generally be doing, you will be taking up a project to improve the process level. But whenever you are taking up a project, you have to be sure that how it is linked with a business objective. The idea is when you are taking a project or when you are selecting the project, it should have an impact on organization's effectiveness and efficiency. So what is really important for an organization that you need to understand using either a vision mission concept or a BPM concept. So once you have any problem which is at process level, you improve that process level, at process level. Suppose I am talking about the performance of one machine, reliability of one machine, etc., etc. Definitely it will improve the operational performance and the business level performance, but you have to make sure that it makes it fall in line with a business objective. Why generally it is being done? So generally you are not familiar with the organization structure. People in the organization generally are, this is not my job. So one who is operating a process may will think that maintenance is not my job. So the collectively, the team is formed to come together and to overcome this concept of a not my job. So you are looking at a picture which is very typically, which is not my job, winner of the not my job contest. So this is what is typically what is happening in the organization. To overcome that, the business process management or a vision mission concept is followed. So once it may happen that you have several ideas or several projects in hand. So if you have those several projects, then you must be able to prioritize those projects. It cannot be on the basis of an subjectivity of any organizational head or somebody. So in Six Sigma, we try to convert everything into numbers. So probably the intuition should not help in taking a decision, but the data or the mathematical calculation should help in taking a decision. So if I have 100 projects or 50 projects or 50 such ideas to improve the revenue, so what I should be doing? I should be prioritizing. So what can be done? So there are certain criteria on which we can prioritize this. The criteria is the statutory compliance, whether it is really required, statutory requirement hai, nahi hai. Based on that, how much will be the benefit? What is the timeline of implementation? Or what is the probability of the success? So many of the times you will come out with a very bright project, but the probability of the success is less. So what is the probability of the success? Is it on the ease of operation? Again, this is just a guideline. You can eliminate criteria D, criteria E, you can add one more criteria, but the only what I am emphasizing here is there has to be certain process to find out that yes, these three projects are important on this basis. So it cannot be on a subjective basis. मुझे लगता है ये ले लो और ये the head say one morning plant head comes and says yes, you choose this project, you choose this project. It should not be like that. It should be based on certain criteria. So that is what is the project criteria or project prioritization criteria. So coming to again, there are like Six Sigma, there are various concepts or various quality approaches which have been which have been done earlier also, which are sustaining also, which are died also. So I will just give you an overview of some of the approaches which are being used presently and which are existing. So the quality circles, which is very important. It started in 79-80s. It again originates from Japan. So how does the quality circle works? In their own department, the people from a group of 8 to 10 people, and keep on working on improvement throughout their life, throughout their year. Or so now imagine organization like Toyota. So Toyota has got 3,000 such circles active. So if there is a group of 8-10 people, they will come together and solve the problem. Will the efficiency of the department or the organization will improve or not? So ultimate objectives, 3,000 circles, active circles, each circle solve 8 to 10 problems or improve 8 to 10 processes in a year. How many number of processes will improve in a year on a mass scale? So this is a synergy that they are trying to build in, and with the involvement of shop floor people. So the quality circle, in a quality circle, everybody at the shop floor is also involved. And now imagine there are 3,000 into 10 process are improved. So will that improve the process efficiency or process effectiveness of Toyota or not? So that is how they are achieving using the quality circle. Then there is an approach which is called as a statistical process control. So statistical process control is typically monitoring your process. These are started in 75, in the era of 75 to 80. Typically, even today, the automotive industry keeps on monitoring the progresses or processes based on this statistical process control. But approach here is plus minus 3 standard deviation. So we'll come to that when we actually go for a Six Sigma process. So typically the statistical process control is based on 3 plus minus sigma, which is really wide, means we are allowing a variation in the process. And when you are using a statistical process control, something has happened, means it is probably sometimes goes in a reactive mode. So this practice has been stopped by many of the people. Now they monitor the process, but in a different way that I will explain when I proceed further. Then there is a concept which is called as an ISO 9000, which has come up in 1987. So basically it is on the quality management side. So how you are operating the process? Are you standardizing it? Means when you say when you have 4 car drivers, so uh, each driver drives in a different manner. So that is not accepted by ISO 9000. He says there has to be a standardized process for driving, and each and every driver who is driving a vehicle should follow a standard process. That is what is Six Sigma, sorry, ISO 9000 emphasizes. So the idea here is, once you have a documented standard procedure, the people who are running the process will not violate that, and ultimately the quality will be delivered. That is what is a concept of an ISO 9000. Now also ISO 9000 is also nowadays talking about what are the improvements you are taking up. It started with standardization and documentation of the process. If you go to any organization, you may find uh, there is no standard documentation which is being done for a process. Now, for an example, just I'll give an example, simple example, to make a cup of tea. So every day, every house has been doing this for several years, but everybody is doing in a different way. So is there any standard process or standardized process which is written in any house about how to make tea? Especially where foreign process where SOPs are very important. Then how much time to boil, when to actually put a milk, when to actually put a sugar, when to actually put a tea powder. Is there a documentation? So ISO 9000 emphasizes that you should be documenting how you are going to operate the process. And if uh, so all the operators, they will also come, the auditor will also come and examine that each and every person who is operating that process is doing the way they are documented or not. So that is what is the concept of an ISO 1000 standardization. Basically, it is a standardization. It is required for an organization, because once you have a standardization, then you probably can make a next step of like an Six Sigma to improve the process. So, but you have to have a standardization. Okay, so that is how ISO 9000 comes up. Then there's a process reengineering concept which came up. Restructuring any process, restructuring the organizations. Even in today's scenario, HR many times will be busy in restructuring the entire organizations. So that is what is a re-engineering. Then the concept of a benchmarking. So the benchmarking is nothing but comparing your performance with the best one. So if you are suppose producing polypropylene or monoethylene glycol, something like that. So probably then you will benchmark your performance, that what is your conversion cost with the other companies who are best in the world. And then when you take up any project, you will try to achieve that, because that is what is, as the standard has been set. So if somebody, Indian athlete, want to compete in the Olympics, what he has to look at, an Olympic record. So like that, it is a benchmarking is what is the best standard, what is the world standard best. So you can compare anything, you can compare yield, you can compare conversion cost, you can compare manpower, anything. So that is what is the concept of a benchmarking. And then also a Six Sigma came in picture in 1987. Originally it started with a manufacturing process using the statistical tools in 1987. Then it slowly moved to a lean concept, where actually a fastening process or a cycle time reduction is also came on the radar. So now everybody talks about the Lean Six Sigma. So you have to improve your process. Depending on your problem, you will select whether you would like to use a lean tools or a Six Sigma tools or a statistical tools. The objective of lean tools is to fasten the process, and Six Sigma or a statistical tools is to reduce the variation. And probably it is one of the structured method and it is still lasting. Many of the organizations in the world as well as in India follow this methodology to improve. There are also concept called as 5S. So again, like in Six Sigma, we have 5 steps: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. There are 5 steps, and based on those 5 steps, again, it originates from Japanese industries. So the 5 steps are sort, systematic, shine, standardize, and sustain. We look at all these 5 steps when we actually look at the lean tools, and then based on that, you improve your process. Ultimately, nobody is right and nobody is wrong. So the way organizations perceived, but all objective is to improve the process, improve the process. That is what is the thrust of every methodology and every approach. So again, nobody is right, nobody is wrong. Now, if you look at an example of failure mode effect analysis, it was started in 1940s by Ford. So to really speaking, even today, the Ford Motor Company, they are religiously following the failure mode effect analysis. They don't believe on Six Sigma, 5S, etc., etc. They say we do failure mode effect analysis of each and every part, each and every car, each and every model, but they religiously do it. That is what is most important in quality approaches, that the people should religiously do it, actually improve the process. And then there is another approach which is called as a Malcolm Baldrige award criteria. So actually, this is what is the birthplace of an Six Sigma methodology is. So to tell you a history or story of this Malcolm Baldrige Award, in the era of 85-87, American companies were facing a lot of problems with the Japanese companies. The Japanese products are outdating the American market, and it was very difficult for American industries, original American industries, to survive in the market. So what is to be done on this issue? To overcome that issue, Malcolm Baldrige suggested that to improve the performance of the organizations, there are certain criteria. So he identified 7 criteria. And on the basis of those 7 criteria, if any organization improves on these 6 criteria, and 7 is probably results. So I'm putting that slide in front of you. So there are 7 categories. Probably 6 are the categories and 7th is the result. So if the organization focus on all these 6 criteria, the performance of the organization will be one step above or will improve, and the performance and the quality, effectiveness, efficiency of the organization will improve, and we'll be able to compete with an Japanese products in US. So based on that, he came out with this model and asked each and every American industry to get this Malcolm Baldrige criteria certification mandatory. So how it happens? So there are examiners. Based on this, they will come to the organization. They will go through everything, all aspects, like I have noted down 6 aspects: leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement, workforce, operations. So they will actually interact with the workforce to understand how the workforce is involved, how they are working, how is the atmosphere, means workforce के ऊपर focus कैसा है, like that, and they will give you what are your strengths of the organization, and then what are the areas of improvement. So what Malcolm Baldrige thought, if the senior people from other organizations come to an organization, they identify the strength of the organizations and also areas of improvement for an organization. So probably if organization build on those strengths and improve where they want to, based on the observation of the senior people, if they improve their performance, naturally the competition, the effectiveness and efficiency of the organization will improve. That is what was the approach, and he was successful in doing that also, because he made all the American companies to apply for this award mandatory. Now it is again not in mandatory in US, but during that era, when they wanted to kill the competition of Japanese, it was mandatory. Now similar model is also available in India. The name of this is Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award. Again, in India, it is not mandatory. It is by organization whether they want to go for this type of examination or not. Again, the examiner comes, strengths, he gives you a strengths and areas of improvement. The team of examiners, rather 4-5 examiners will come and you, the organization, 60-65 pages of report, what you are doing good in all the aspects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and also the results. So that is what is very important to improve the means, to understand, know your organization and how you can improve, you can understand it. Now, one of the important criteria of Malcolm Bradley's award was to share. When any organization wins that award, it was mandatory for that organization to share what you have done differently with the all participating organizations. Now, when Motorola in 1987 won the Malcolm Baldrige Award, and while what they have done differently, sharing with the other organization, they came out and said that we had a Six Sigma methodology to improve our products and processes. So basically, it is a defect-free. When during that time, Motorola was talking about the defects in the pager, and due to defects in the pager, the pager market was for Motorola. The pager, they were not able to sell the pagers in the market, and how systematically by analyzing they have reduced the defects in the pager and improved the performance and penetration in the pager market. That is what as a case study was produced that time. So basically, the Malcolm Baldrige Award criteria is a birthplace of Six Sigma, where Motorola presented that we have a structured process to improve any process. Okay, so there are various other tools also. You must have heard called Plan, Do, Check, Act. So if you again look at Japanese industries, probably Japanese industries follow a Plan, Do, Check, Act concept, while Western countries, they follow DMAC approach, that is define, measure, analyze, improve, control, or a Six Sigma approach. Again, nobody is wrong and nobody is right. It is the way organization perceived. The idea is to improve the process. But when I say why Six Sigma, the Six Sigma is a most structured approach. Means sometimes I say, if you answer your 15 questions, there are 5 steps. So at that 5 steps, there are 3 questions at each stage. So when I say define, what you will do in a define, there are 3 questions in that. So if you answer these 3 questions, your define gets completed. So probably if you answer 15 questions, your project will be completed. That is how, basically Six Sigma is a very structured process, and it is based on a statistical tools. So there is another methodology which is called as a 4D methodology: discover, design, develop, deploy. By the way, it is not a rocket science. It is a simple process the normal human brain thinks. So it comes very naturally. So discover, design, develop, deploy. Or if you go to an earlier phase, plan, do, check, act. So you plan something, do it, check it, and act. So it is not a rocket science. It is an approach. And somebody will say 8D again. So he has divided those 4 steps into 8 steps. So create a team, describe the problem, etc., etc. So there are various steps, and you go step by step. But the advantage of Six Sigma is it is a more structured method. Okay, so if you want faster results or edge over the others, and you want your results to sustain, because it has come from a statistical tools, generally organization use Six Sigma. So what is the Six Sigma methodology? Steps in Six Sigma methodology. It is called as a define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So what does the define says? Define says the problem. What is the problem in terms of what is wrong? and in measure what is the current performance. So what is my present capability? Is my measurement system good enough to means whether I am recording the data which is correct or not. Then analyze phase, it is to understand the root cause, then improve by implementing the countermeasures, and the fundamental thing is a control through a prevention of reoccurrence. Means we don't want that event to reoccur again. So if you look at an actions, there are preventive actions and corrective actions. So what is a corrective action? The corrective action is an action which is temporarily being done. But the preventive action is that the event will not occur. So you have to prevent from occurring an event. That is what is the preventive action. And whole of a Six Sigma methodology is on prevention of an event. So the incident should not happen or the accident should not happen. So what is the prevention is very important. Okay. So how the Six Sigma methodology generally works. So again, in a Six Sigma, it is not like that we don't solve the problems. I have been in the industry for 37 years. So what is so different in Six Sigma? So when we are using a Six Sigma approach, we work on generally Y is equal to F x1, x2, x3. So what is the Y? So Y in terminology of an quality is called as an effect, while x1, x2, x3 are called as an causes. Okay, so we try to build up a relationship between Y and x1, x2, x3. And when I say x1, x2, x3, xn, there are n number of reasons why I'm not performing in an exam. Effect is what I am not able to get the higher percentage in my exam. Now, if this is a Y, there are reasons. So x1, x2, x3, x4, there are several reasons. Now, the trick is, when I list down all the reasons, I call it as an potential reasons. And in Six Sigma, we screen those potential X's to come to an vital X's using a tools. Again, I'll give an example. We don't believe in intuition. मुझे ऐसा लगता है, प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर बोलेगा या प्लांट मैनेजर विल ऑलवेज से मुझे ऐसा लगता है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है doesn't have much value in Six Sigma. So it has to be proved either by data or by evidence or something like that to come to an vital X. So if it is not using that tool, probably if you don't use that tool, you will not sustain the gains. And that is what is been emphasized in Six Sigma. I'm giving a very simple example. I have been in an industry, I have been operating a polyester plant for almost 25 years. Before coming to Six Sigma, last 10, 15 years, I was in a plant operation. So I was operating a plant, a polyester plant, and at the level of a production manager, something like that. So suppose there is some problem in polyester plant or polyester operations. There are breaks are happening, any of the plant. You can take an example of polypropylene, any chemical making, MEG, PTA, or refinery. So somebody comes to me. I am referring to a polyester example because I have been working there for 25 years. Now somebody tells me a problem that there is some problem in a polyester plant. So what do we need to do? Now, being there for 25 years, obviously I have some knowledge of the polyester process. So I will tell you, yes, यहाँ temperature adjust करना पड़ेगा. Temperature need to be adjusted or temperature need to be lower or increase, something like that. Now, the same question is asked to a young engineer who has just passed out like you, or probably having 2-3 years of experience that this is a problem, what we need to do. So when the question is asked to a young engineer like you, he probably is saying that we need to adjust a pressure or a pH of the process or a pressure of the process. So generally what is implemented? Obviously production muscle power always works. So the temperature is adjusted. So by adjusting a temperature, I get an improvement to the tune of a 30%. And I proudly, a production manager of a company says, देख मैं बोल रहा था ना temperature adjust करो हो जाएगा.
Now, what is the typical problem, traditional problem in this problem solving is that we never explore pressure. So when I say potential excess, I need to take up all those excess, temperature, pressure, etc., and then use a statistical to understand the effect of an each x. That is, what is the effect of a temperature? Probably what will happen, by adjusting the temperature, I have got an improvement to the tune of a 30%. But I have not explored pressure at all. So if I adjust the pressure, it may happen that I will improve the process by 50%, but I don't explore that at all because I go with a traditional mindset. Now, exactly, Six Sigma challenges that. Six Sigma says, you find out all the potential excess, involve all the people, and screen those excess using tools to come down to a vital excess. And work only on those vital excess, but I feel the subjectivity will not come in picture when you are screening those excess. Either you will have to prove with a statistical tool or with the data that this is why I need to adjust the temperature or this is why I need to adjust the pressure. That is what is very important takeaway from a Six Sigma project. So we don't go by on subjectivity that is what I feel. So whenever you say, even I have to select a project, there has to be some criteria for selecting the project by numbers. So everything is mathematics here. So you have to produce the number, and by which number or logic or something like that, by which you are saying that yes, this is my vital X. And that is why Six Sigma makes the difference for all the methodologies. Now, what is the advantage? So what is the advantage? When you do any Six Sigma project, your best result will come. And the result will sustain. That is also most important. So the whole idea of the methodology is to sustain the results, sustain the improvement. That is what is generally missing in any organization. Okay, because it is not like that we don't solve problems in the organization, but we solve the problems or we take up the problems with the solution in mind. And exactly Six Sigma challenges that. You don't think of a solution right now when you are defining and measuring problem. So why my score is low? So if suppose this question is asked, why you are late? Generally you are coming to the class late. So why you are late? So you will come out with the reasons. So when you are saying out the reasons, you have to produce a data that this has happened, that is why I am late. So there is a correlation between that, and based on that, this is what is the main reason why I am coming late, and then you need to take a corrective action on that. That is what is most important, which is emphasized in Six Sigma. This one whole slides explains you the whole methodology. Okay, so how is the Six Sigma method roadmap? So at every step, what is to be done in define, what is to be done in measure is clearly written down. So you follow that, you will complete the project. That is what is exactly perfect structured process. That is a roadmap which is clearly laid down. Why Six Sigma works? Basically, it talks about the bottom line and profitability. So bottom line means permanent gains. And if you look, there are many industries in the world, GE, Honeywell, Dow Chemicals, they have saved a lot of money as a bottom line to say that the Six Sigma, the thrust of a Six Sigma improvement is on bottom line. So when I say bottom line, what is important? Now, suppose you are producing something, polypropylene, and you are selling that polypropylene to in a market for rupees 40 in a present scenario. The external environment changes, and you started selling that from 44 rupees instead of 40 rupees. So will your profitability goes up? Yes, your profitability goes up, but it is due to external environment in the market. Now, if suppose the emphasis of Six Sigma is what? If you are producing 100 metric tons today, you improve your process to produce 110 metric tons in the same resources. Then this will be a permanent gain. While in an earlier scenario, if you are selling it 44 rupees, tomorrow it may happen that you have to sell it to 38 rupees. So it is not a permanent gain. So what I mean by bottom line, the gain should be permanent. That is what is important as a bottom line. The focus on the customer's requirement. So the emphasis is again, what is customer requirement? And when we calculate the capability of the process, we always keep in mind what are the customer requirement are. And what is emphasized in Six Sigma is the next process as a customer. So generally what happens, who is your customer? So you probably will be telling you who is external agency who is buying polypropylene from you or MEG from you or polyester from you, you will call them as a customer. But here the concept is that you have a next process also as a customer. So you have to put your next process as a customer, and then you have to think of an next process and then structure your process or improve this process what the next process wants. So you can call it as an mouth is a customer of stomach. So what is my next process? I eat and go to the stomach, but my stomach is not able to digest it. So what the mouth should do? That is what is the emphasis of a Six Sigma project. It is of course based on the sound statistical and disciplined approach. So when you are screening the excess, you always talk about the statistical tools and disciplined approach. It is a data-driven culture. So there is no subjectivity which has a much value here. So if you are a good black belt, now I have been working in a polyester industry only, but I go to refineries also, I go to retail also, based on and I can execute the project based on data-driven culture, the mindset, data-driven mindset. That is what's most important in Six Sigma. They clearly defines the measure of the success. Have I improved or not? It was earlier 3, now it has improved to 4 or not. If it is improved to 4, then I say the project is successful. The process has to be statistically different than earlier process. Then it will sustain. So there is a meaning behind that. I improved the process statistically. Means I have also looked at the variation in the process and improved the process. So that is what I mean. If the process is improved statistically, means it clearly defines that yes, it is the project is done or not done. Then encourage team culture, that I have told you in the story also, and it improves the employee engagement. Many of the time I have seen if somebody completes a project and he has been given an opportunity to present his project in an outside forum, like there are several competitions, excellence award competition, the employees take a pride that my project is being presented there. So naturally he gets connected with the organization and the employee engagement goes up. And most important, infrastructure of and train individuals. So once you go through a methodology, once a black belt is always black belt throughout his life. So there is a thinking. Actually, you become more structured whenever you are going to solve any problem. That is why I say it is very useful for a young engineers. You may not be able to implement it directly when you join any organization at first day, but if you climb up the ladder 3-4 years, probably you will be the best people to implement or work a Six Sigma or deploy a Six Sigma in your organization for your career, etc. So that becomes a way of thinking. So what is my why? What is my effect? What is my problems? So you don't jump to a conclusion immediately. So that is the biggest advantage of this. So you will always, somebody comes to you, you are a production manager and somebody comes to you and say, this is a problem and this is a solution. So you will always, what is the correlation, how you are proving it statistically, etc., etc. So the emphasis is on improvement on the permanent basis. And that is the way you get tuned to it. It becomes a different mindset once you become a black belt, and that is why organization always deploy Six Sigma to have that culture of a trained individual in problem solving. So every problem has a two solutions. Either run bhag lo or bhag lo. So the meaning is you either run away or participate. So suppose you are working in a department or a company where you find that there is some problem going on, and you have an exposure to all these statistical tools. Probably you will come ahead and say, yes, let me participate, let me try out. I have learned so many tools, so whether I can improve a process. Or if you don't know anything about it, you probably will run away from that. I will give you a simple example. There are two friends, those who are crossing a river. One who is not knowing a swimming at all, and one who is knowing a swimming. Now, if these two friends are crossing a river, who will be more confident? So, even somebody who is telling to cross your river gives you a stamp paper that the ship is or the boat is not going to topple. Even then, when both of them are riding, who is confident? The one who knows swimming is more confident, because he says, "Arey gir gaya to dekhenge kya hota hai? Can I swim?" So it is like that. If you know the tools, probably you will come forward and participate. That is why organization trains you, or that is the way it will be helpful for you, because you will solve a problem in a systematic manner. So even if you join any organization and you tackle a problem, what are the various excess? The production manager probably will get impressed with you that, "Arey yaar, ye to systematic. He is identifying what are various problems, then narrowing down on one of the potential vital cause, etc., etc." So it is a way of thinking, and which is very important for you. So again, the Six Sigma is on eliminate of causes of mistakes or defects. So why is due to some reasons, excess. So when I say process control, statistical process control, so generally what happens when we generally take up any project, actually I missed out the sentence when I showed you a funnel slide. So typically what is the motive of a Six Sigma project is monitor Y and control excess. So Y is an effect, and Y is because of some reasons in X. I identify what are the main reasons or what are my vital reasons, and I control those X's so that my Y will automatically come. So what is the emphasis of a Six Sigma project is control X's, Y will automatically come. So I will monitor Y but control X's. So that is what is exactly written by Michael Harry, who is an architect of an Six Sigma methodology working at Motorola when Motorola got an Malcolm Baldrige Award. So what he says, eliminate causes of mistakes or defects. So go on the root cause and try to eliminate that mistake or cause. So that your process is error free and the Y or output will automatically come, you control excess. That is what is most important. You will understand that systematically when we proceed. So for a perfect process, what is needed? The process has to be valuable, capable, available, adequate, and flexible. So for all that to happen, there are various different tools which are being used. So to have a valuable, I will be using lean tools. To improve the capability, I will be using statistical tools. To have that availability, so if I have to have a total productive maintenance so that the equipment is available for me for the production, then only it will become capable. So it is collection of all these 5 points, which is called as a perfect process, and all these are coming as an tools to solve a business level problem. That is what is most important here. So when an organization is called as a Six Sigma organization, so again it is about the numbers. So it is not subjectivity. So when 6 to 10% of the bottom line is coming from the Six Sigma project. See, in every 95% is technical. What you will have and benefit using a methodology is an edge over the other. That is a 5% more which should come from a Six Sigma project. That is what is the Six Sigma methodology also says. So if any organization who declares that our 95% or 100% of the revenue is coming from in Six Sigma projects, they are doing something grossly wrong. So it is the Six Sigma. How does the Six Sigma methodology helps you? Basically, when you join any organization, your 95% is your technical knowledge, your chemical engineering. Now, to that chemical engineering to have an edge over the others, you will be having this 5% support of a methodology. And you will having, with the help of this methodology, you will have an edge over the other. That is what the Six Sigma methodology means, that only 5 to 10% of the revenue or bottom line should be coming from an Six Sigma projects. Then 5 to 10% of the population is either black belt or master black belt. 40 to 50% of the population is green belt. Again, they are not saying that 100% people should be trained in Six Sigma, but 50% is good enough to change the culture of an organization. Then all HODs who are at the senior level, they should be knowing a process, what is Six Sigma, how they can use Six Sigma to improve their processes, etc. There are stream of projects in pipeline. मीन्स जैसे मैंने कहा ना कि अपने पास प्रोजेक्ट होने चाहिए, जैसे ये इट इज ऑब्वियस, आप किसी भी प्लांट हेड को या प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर को पूछो तो ही विल गिव यू नंबर ऑफ 1 2 3 4 लाइक दिस, द सीरीज ऑफ मीन्स द लिस्ट ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट्स व्हाट ही वांट्स टू डू. So that is what I mean by a project pipeline ready. So I should be having solve 1, solve 2, solve 3, like I should be having 25 problems ready. That is what is in project pipeline. Then HR policies aligned with the Six Sigma deployment. So there is the criteria of a Six Sigma organization. So many organizations in US, GE, example GE, Motorola, if you are not a Six Sigma certified green belt, black belt, you can't go beyond certain level in organization. Like Motorola, if you want to be a plant head, you have to have a black belt certification. That is mandatory as an HR policy. That is what is most important. So even in Kirloskar Cummins, India, it is clearly written down that if you don't do 2 green belt projects, you can't become a section head. So like that, the HR policies are aligned with the Six Sigma deployment. Then the Six Sigma initiative is sustained without an external help. That is also important, because every time you are hiring consultant from outside doing a project. So ultimately, if you start from an awareness, then few people should go to green level, green to black, and black to MBB level, so that you have an internal resources also ready, and it comes with the practice. It can't happen overnight. Either you hire a person from outside who is MBB, or train a person from bottom, so that green belt, black belt, and encourage him to be a MBB. But you have to have a self-sustaining structure. So basically, it is a culture. Then you must be also supporting a suppliers or customers using a Six Sigma methodology, like Tata. So Tata Motors has got so many suppliers, so many parts which are coming to Tata Motors. So Tata encourages their supplier to be a Six Sigma company, so that the quality of the parts which are supplied by the suppliers goes up, will indirectly improve the performance of the Tata vehicle and indirectly improve the quality of the Tata. This is how it has to be done. Then providing a support to the customers also is possible to run a process for downstream processes. Like I am working with an elastomer group with the various mixtures to how to use the products for and the customer end, what is to be temperature, what parameters need to be adjusted, etc. So you must be able to support the customers and supplier. That is what is the requirements of a Six Sigma organization. These are the few organizations, internationally and Indian, those who are Six Sigma practitioners. So GE, Dow, Motorola, Toyota, DuPont, 3M, Sony. In India, L&T, Wipro, Tata Motors, Tata Steel, Asian Paint, Johnson and Johnson, Kirloskar, Cummins, etc. So basically, as I said, in the era of 85, it started with the concept of a black belt only. So when Motorola started it, they thought of an end-to-end concept. So they started with a black belt concept in 87. Now, when I say black belt, the scope is global. Means if suppose I am polypropylene plant or polyester plant. So there is one black belt who is dedicatedly working for all the improvements in the process, end-to-end processes. That is what is meaning of a black belt. His scope is global, and his focus was on defects and use was on statistical tools. Now, completing any project is not only using of and tools, but there are many more aspects which are most important. How I am building up a team, how I am working with the HODs to license or implement those action plans. If suppose using a statistical tools, if suppose you find out something and you go and implement, it is not that easy in the industry. So you have to take a buy-in from an HOD to implement that. Now there are so many people, and there is a lot of conflict when you are implementing something, because the HOD of the plant or a production manager of the plant probably has worked 20-25 years in that plant. And if tomorrow, like I gave you a concept, or suppose I was a production manager and I was of the opinion the temperature, and somebody comes and he says pressure to be adjusted, it is very difficult for me to digest that and implement that. I need to adjust the pressure. So what is more needed? So persuasion skills are needed by those black belts. And that is why I say, when you are completing the project, it is not only the statistical tools, but how you are forming a team, how you are persuasion skills, your leadership skills, those are most important. Now, what has happened? When you are saying black belt, the scope is global. Now, when GE popularized this methodology, Jack Welch said, why I am restricting only these to 10 or 20 people in my organization? I will throw it open for all, so everybody will work on the improvement. So in GE, when he wanted to convert a loss-making company to a profit-making company, he asked each and every employee to complete 2 Six Sigma or 2 improvement projects in a year mandatorily. If you complete those 2 projects, you will be given increment, or if you don't complete those projects, you will not be given your performance linkage incentive for that year. Now imagine there are 5,000 people or 10,000 people in GE. So each employee, 10,000 employees completing 2 projects. So probably they are improving 20,000 processes. Now, if you improve the 20,000 processes, will it turn around the performance of the organization or not? So it will definitely improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the organization. That is how Jack Welch has done it, with a management style using a Six Sigma methodology. He was not a Six Sigma guy, but he was knowing how to implement Six Sigma, how to deploy Six Sigma, and he made it mandatory for all GE employees to improve the process statistically. Based on that, the performance of GE, which was a loss-making company, became a profit-making company in just 2 years after Jack Welch took it over. Okay, that is how he is done. So what he done now, probably when you are doing it with your actual job, your focus is regional. So from a total end-to-end process, you become regional. And now in a lean, or we are talking about value, it is local. So like it is a business level problem, operation level problem to a process level problem. So that is how it has changed. Now it is called as a black belt, green belt, and yellow belt. Probably you are doing a yellow belt project. So you will be doing a process level problem or machine level problem or etc. like that. So nowadays, earlier it started from defects, then it went to cost, and now it is called as a value. So what is value? Value is mathematical equation can be a satisfaction is equal to expectation minus experience. So it is a trade-off between quality. So just give an example. I go to a restaurant for a dinner. After having my restaurant, I for 3 people or 2 people, I get an bill of an 2,300. So the first question what I ask myself is, it is worth. So if it is worth experience, then I say there is a value in it. It is not related to quality. See, uh, sometimes I also go and have a tea at Tapri, but how much I spend and what I get, is my experience worth it? That is what is exactly I want to ask myself. It is what is called as a value. So there are many customers in the market. They wait for Reliance to produce a substandard quality. And once Reliance produces substandard quality of polyester, they probably jump on it to purchase that. Because again, it is a lower quality product, but how much they give, matlab, how much they spend and how much they get, it is an worth it experience. That is what is important nowadays in a market. So it is what is called as a value. So the value addition, when somebody joins an organization, somebody comes on a duty. So what does he do in a Japanese language? Either he adds value to the process or produces waste. That is what is the Japanese thinking. Means when a person comes for a work, any person who comes, joins an organization, comes for an work, either he adds value or produces waste. So how a value addition can be? So it is a physical transformation. So you are now being engineer, but there will be workers in your organization who may be physically loading the truck, unloading the truck. So they are physically transforming something or taking some material from here to there. That is what is they doing. Are they not adding value? They are also adding a value, but in their own way. So one is a physical transformation. Then another is a problem solving and process improvement. So probably when you will join any organization at a shift level or operation level, so initially you will be involved only in a physical transformation, actually running the process with DCS, etc. But slowly as you grow up in the organization, you will move towards the problem solving, and there were exactly 2 years, 3 years identifying a root cause. Your value addition will be a problem solving or process improvement, where you will really get help of an Six Sigma methodology, how to use a structured method to solve the problem. There are third kind of a people, documentation or information. There are time office, accounts, etc., etc. They are not actually producing anything, but they are documenting everything. The time office is keeping a watch on what time you came, what time you went, how many days you have worked, based on that to give you your salary. So that is what is the documentation or information. Some few departments will give you only information. So that is how the value addition is taking place in any organization. Typically, look at this picture. This is a typical example of an value addition. Now we always see a clock there at the signal. So how that clock helps? The clock helps in many ways. You may change the CD, you may take a call, you may call somebody whose call was missed out by you. Probably you can give water to your son, daughter, you can drink water yourself, you can have some snacks, etc., etc., depending on this clock. Now, is that clock actually taking part in the process? Means वो क्लॉक होने से आपका, is that red converting green early because there is a clock? No. So this clock is not actually taking a part in a process, but gives you enough information to do something at your own, which is a value addition in the process. So it may not take actually part in the process, but give you an information. That is what is a value addition. So this is what is the introduction for today. So we'll stop here, and during next session we'll look at what is a defined phase concept. We'll also look at how to prepare a charter, and then look at the major phase concept and the capability of the process. So any questions? I will pass on this presentation to you so that you can go through the presentation and come back with the questions, no issue. Nikhil?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the great lecture, sir. On the present lecture, if anyone has any doubts to ask, they can ask right away.
Yes.
Yes, Afreen,
Bolo.
at least.
Yes, sir.
You, anybody is free to ask any questions, or if you have any feedback, you can give.
Thank you, sir. It is a wonderful session. You have added a lot of value to us. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Wait. If there are no questions, means there could be two outcomes. Either you have understood everything or you have not understood anything. So which one is it?
Sir, we all have understood everything.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. Mostly understood.
Okay. So now I guess then Karve sir can ask you questions, then you will be able to
Yeah,
answer.
we'll start with the question next time. So probably I am thinking, since this is how to make it interactive, I am also thinking on that to improve my process.
Yes, sir.
So
Small.
probably I will come out with something, Nikhil.
Yes,
So that
Objective
we will
type
increase
questions.
our interaction. Yes.
Yeah, objective type questions. After
Yes,
every
yes.
half an
Yeah.
hour, you can.
Few questions in between so that they can type the answer, etc.
Yes. But better if they unmute themselves and.
Okay. So let us understand that. I am thinking on that lines to make it interactive. Okay.
Then we'll come to know how many of them are really attentive.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there is no any doubts on today's session on Six Sigma overall, how this course is going to proceed. If you have anything, you can ask, because it's
So
not.
we'll build on. So that
You
we
can
will ask questions. Let us see.
Huh?
Build on. This is just a beginning of an introduction of the methodology. So when
Yeah.
actually Six Sigma methodology starts, they will have questions.
Yes, but in the session they don't have any questions, but afterwards they have questions in the WhatsApp groups. So that's why.
So they can write to me, no issue in that. You can share my email address to them. They can ask me a question.
Yes, sir. But we can spare 5 minutes for this.
Yes, sure.
So that's why, if anything, anyone has to say, was the pace too high, low, anything? Yes, Pragati? Yes, yes.
Sir, I have a question. What is the major difference between yellow belt, green belt, and black belt?
It is levels. You know karate. So in karate,
Yes.
there are levels of belts. So it is like that: yellow, green, and black. So black belt, probably he knows more tools, take up end-to-end level projects, high impact projects, etc.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, as you give the
Wait.
overview,
Wait. Firstly, you can introduce yourself. You tell your name, your college name, which year you are studying. Then you can put your questions. No?
okay, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm Pragati from Decres Mothal, and my question is that you have given us the overview about the goal and the vision of our projects.
Yeah.
But how can we set the goal for a project?
Actually, project is an outcome of an vision, mission, objective. You will take up a project at the objective level or a process level, but make sure that with whatever project you take up is in alignment with the vision of the organization or goal of an organization.
Okay.
Okay. So you take up any project, so have that visibility that how it is linked to an organization. That is what is most important. Without
Okay.
having knowledge of that, you are simply ye kar lo. Karna is not a Six Sigma. So you as an Six Sigma project leader must establish that why I am doing this. Is there any meaning in doing this? That is most important. And how it is aligned with the goal of an organization. Okay, have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.